Well, I hate to break the news to Michael Beckley over at Foreign Affairs, but America has always been divided, and yes, it should remain divided. The United States, to settle this argument, the United States has always been divided, and it should remain divided. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that California should be California, Florida should be Florida, Texas should be Texas, and we shouldn't be looking to D.C. as the fix-all. So welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy. Here it's late Wednesday night going into Thursday. Sorry to be posting this so late. And if you're new to the channel, no fancy graphics, epic soundtracks, pretty boy camera angles. It's you, me, my smartphone, the news of the day, and this mission, this crusade to preserve great art, music, history, and culture. So the title of the article, again, over at Foreign Affairs, it's a really lengthy article, so I'm just going to read snippets to you. But there's one part I want to focus on in particular. We'll get to that here in a moment. But the title of the article, The Strange Triumph of a Broken America, Why Power Abroad Comes with Dysfunction at Home, again by Michael Beckley. By all appearances, the United States is a mess, he says. 2/3 of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track, and only 70% rate the economy as not good or poor, and that's in quotes. Both of those are in quotes. Public trust in government has fallen by half, from 40% in 2000 to just 20% today. Love of country is fading too, with only 38% of Americans now saying patriotism is quote-unquote very important to them, down from 70% in 2000. Congressional polarization has reached its highest point since Reconstruction. Well, Reconstruction was a disaster. It was a complete disaster. It actually created more poverty than wealth. And there are a lot of fat cats, carpetbaggers as they call them, that got rich from the North, and some people in the South too, from Reconstruction. So Reconstruction was a complete disaster. I mean, how many people know that the South was charged double for freight rates? Plus, the threats of violence against politicians have surged. Former U.S. President Donald Trump faced 2 assassination attempts en route to reclaiming the White House, winning the popular vote even though many Americans believe he's a fascist. Some scholars draw parallels between the United States and Weimar Germany. Others liken the United States to the Soviet Union in its final years, a brutal gerontocracy rotting from within. Still others argue that the country is on the brink of civil war. Are we on the brink of civil war? No, we're not. The media wants you to believe that, but no, we're not. The truth is, again, America has always been divided, because that's the way the founders designed it, because they understood that each colony at the time was different, or colony becoming a state was different. People had different political views, religious views, traditions. But he calls this a paradox. Skimming through the article here. The United States is a divided country. Well, we're not a country. We're actually a federal republic, really a confederation of states, hybrid, if you will. Perpetually perceived as in decline, yet it consistently remains the wealthiest and most powerful state in the world, leaving competition behind, or competitors behind. How can such dominance emerge from disorder? The answer is that the United States' main assets, its vast land, dynamic demographics, and decentralized political institutions, also create severe liabilities. On the one hand, the country is an economic citadel, packed with resources and blessed by ocean borders that shield it from invasion while connecting it to global trade. Unlike its rivals, whose populations are shrinking, the United States enjoys a growing workforce, buoyed by high levels of immigration. Despite political gridlock in Washington, the country's decentralized system empowers a dynamic private sector that adopts innovations faster than its competitors. Because decentralization works. It works. Because we have this idea that everything starts at the top, when originally it all started from the bottom, at the grassroots, because the states came first, and it was the states via convention who created the federal government, the central government, to work on their behalf as their agent. And the Constitution was a compact between the states. Yet these same strengths also create two major vulnerabilities. First, they deepen the divide between prospering urban hubs and struggling rural communities, intensifying economic disparities and fueling political polarization. So he gets really into the weeds here about differences between these urban centers like New York or Chicago or LA and small town America. So let me get to the part here that I want to focus on. Like I said, this is a very lengthy article. Go check it out over at Foreign Affairs. It's in the section Built to Last here. It says, critics contend that the United States is a house of cards, its towering strength masking a faltering foundation. But we don't have a faltering foundation. The founders knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't want to be like Great Britain. They didn't want to be under the thumb of the king. By the way, did you see Jimmy Carter's memorial service? Now, I was at work yesterday, and I heard it because there was a TV in the lobby, and our desk is front desk is next to the lobby. I work at a hotel. That's my day job. And I swear to you, it sounded like they were burying the king. It sounded like they were burying the king. They point to government gridlock, eroding public trust, and deepening societal divides as cracks spreading through the civic bedrock, fractures they claim will inevitably undermine the pillars of U.S. wealth and power. But guess what? Our political system has always been messy, Mr. Beckley. It's always been messy. Yet, U.S. history shows no straightforward link between internal turmoil and geopolitical decline. In fact, the United States has often emerged stronger from political crises. The Civil War was followed by Reconstruction, again a disaster, and an industrial boom. Industrial boom, there you go. We just need an industrial boom to sweep it all up. Hey, it's late. I'm trying to read this, as I go here. As the financial panics of the 1890s, Washington became a world power. After the financial panics of the 1890s, Washington became a world power. The Great Depression spurred the New Deal. World War II marked the beginning of the American century. Now, this is true. Don't have any disagreement here. An era of unprecedented U.S. primacy. The malaise of the 1970s, marked by stagflation, social unrest, and defeats in Vietnam and Iran, eventually gave way to a resurgence in economic and military strength, followed by the Cold War, etc., etc. Like I said, he gets really in the weeds here. So let me go to this next part for you. Find you the title of this next section. And again, he talks about this divide between these urban centers like New York, Chicago, LA, and the rural areas. The urban-rural rift, the widest among rich democracies, has roots that reach deep into the United States past. In the 19th century, a schism between the industrial North and the agrarian slave-holding South culminated in the Civil War. The New Deal and World War II temporarily lessened these divisions by spreading manufacturing across town and country, but in the late 20th century, globalization and technological change sparked a divergence in fortunes. The North American Free Trade Agreement, better known as NAFTA, of the 1990s, and what academics call the China shock in the subsequent decade, which both sent jobs overseas, hollowed out American manufacturing towns. From 2000 to 2007, the United States lost 3.6 million manufacturing jobs, followed by another 2.3 million during the 2008 financial crisis and the recession that followed. Well, maybe we should have been focused more on the local from the start. Maybe that's the issue, Mr. Beckley. Because if you focus on the homeland, you focus on your own backyard, you're going to be stronger abroad. But somehow he's making the argument here that no, we have this major divide, and I don't understand why we have this major divide when we have this dominant presence on the world stage. Well, we have this dominant presence on the world stage because of the military-industrial complex. Because, again, we've made DC the fix-all. That's the issue. That's the problem. So let me go to the very last paragraph for the sake of time here. So in the final paragraph, he talks about our nemesis, China, Iran, North Korea. and somewhat Russia. I don't see Russia as our enemy. I think DC tries to make it look that way. But it says here China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. However, not to say that Russia is innocent here, okay? Because we know, going back to the Cold War, some things that Russia did, these other countries did. But China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, however, are unlikely to mellow overnight. The United States' struggle against these countries may not last forever, but Washington must prepare for a contest that could last years. In this competition, domestic unity will be essential, investing in jobs, infrastructure, housing, and education in neglected areas, and rekindling a spirit of civic duty will be crucial not only to mend national fissures, but also to fortify the United States against foreign threats. Again, it all goes back to focusing on the homeland. Calling on Americans to stand up to autocratic aggression doesn't mean rushing into war. I agree with that. It means creating a future in which peace is secured through sustained investments in military strength and diplomatic outreach. Well, that military strength should be, again, focused on the homeland. I mean, our first line of defense is our Navy. It's the Coast Guard. And you can correct me in the comments section below if I'm wrong here. But they believe that one of the reasons that Pearl Harbor got attacked like it did is because they didn't have enough intel before the attack. It means rallying a nation to recognize its immense power and accept the responsibility to wield it, not in frenzied reaction, but before the storm, with purpose and prudence. And that purpose and that prudence, Mr. Beckley, needs to be understanding that the United States has always been divided, and that these culture wars need to be sent back to the states. We need to stop treating DC like the fix-all, and DC needs to focus on what it was designed to do, which is protect the homeland, oversee international trade, and settle disputes between states. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. So I thought I'd share this article with you. Thanks for being with me. Let me stumble my way through this tonight. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Once again, the article's over at Foreign Affairs. Michael Beckley, talking about how America is broken, but we have all this dominance overseas on the global stage. But you can follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Go to X, Culture Confederacy at Culture Confed 1 on X, and now you can find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Wednesday night. Take care.